had that experience when you're in a conversation with somebody and all of a sudden it just goes dead? You're talking and then suddenly you're not. Like maybe you've been asking questions and they've been giving like one-word answers and then you just don't know what to say next. Or like you were gonna talk and they were gonna talk, but you stopped talking because you let the other person speak, but they also try to let you speak, so you guys just don't speak. There's so many awkward times where you're trying to communicate with somebody and for some reason it just stops abruptly. Those are so awkward. I remember there was one time where I had this birthday party that I was attending with a friend of mine. So I was the first one to arrive at his house, right? I got there, he was like welcoming me, he took me to his room, and there we had absolutely nothing to talk about. We just had to wait until everybody else arrived to actually start the party. So he just kind of sat on his bed and started like twiddling with his thumbs, just looking down. And I was just standing like right next to him, just watching this. And I decided, okay, I'm just gonna like get up and do something. And I started walking around his room, just looking at the stuff. Again, this is all dead silent. And then at one point, I'm looking at the stuff and I do like a little turn to see if he's still looking at me. And I see him still sitting on his bed, still with his, twiddling his thumbs, just side-eyeing me the whole time, not saying anything, just looking. And I could feel the awkward tension there because we just both didn't really have any social skills to speak to each other like actual human beings. It's like when there wasn't everybody else around, we just didn't know what to do with ourselves. And looking back on it, if I did have like a do-over, you could say, of how I would make sure that awkward moments like that didn't happen, how I would be able to speak to anybody and continue the conversation naturally without these like awkward silences, then this is what I would do. For starters, I would employ something known as the Ford technique. Now, the Ford technique is something used in business for businessmen to their clients or their customers. It's a way to build rapport, to try to get them to sell something. But it can also just be used in communication with other people, like friends, family, whatever. Well, actually, no, not really family, mainly just people that you're meeting for the first time. And the way it goes like this. So Ford stands for family. O stands for occupation, R stands for recreation, and D stands for dreams. Now, let me break this down. F, family, quite simple. You're asking questions or talking about family members like brothers or siblings, or weird uncles if you have any of those. O, occupation, which is the thing that you do for work. If you're a student, it could be like what majors or what classes that you're taking. Or if you do actually have a job, like a part-time job, whatever. R is recreation, so things you like to do, your hobbies, drawing, pastries. I meant to say pottery there, not pastries, oh my word. So, the hobbies that you do for fun. And then D, dreams, obviously. What stuff would you like to do? So let me give you some examples for each of them. So for F, let's say that you mentioned, because with all these things, when the conversation goes dead, it's important not to just continue asking them questions, because that's not working. You need to put it back on you for a second. You say something like, I recently got a call from my brother, and it was great because I haven't spoken to him in years at this point, so that was pretty cool. And then you put it back on them. You ask do you have any brothers or sisters? Boom, right there. You've continued the conversation from there. O for occupation. You could say that, I don't have a job, I'm a student, so I would say something like, right now I'm really trying to take my computer science classes seriously because I need to do well in them. And then you simply ask, are you taking any classes? If you know that they are also a student. If it's like a job, then obviously you would say something like, so what are you doing to make money right now? Or something like that. I'm not gonna give you exact sentences to copy because like you can figure those out, obviously. This is just more of a suggestion. Or recreation, literally just say what you like to do. I love drawing, character art, it's amazing. And I've been trying to get into it recently again because I've taken a long break from it. And do you like have anything you like to do? Or D, dreams. You know, I've always wanted, let's say that you guys are at like a mall or something like that. You say, you know, I've always wanted to own like a clothing brand or something like that because I just think that would be so sick. What about you? Do you ever want to own a brand or anything like that? And they'll probably say something like, nah, and then you can say, really? So then what do you have like as a dream to achieve? And with all of these things, keep in mind that you shouldn't just stop at the surface level. Like for example, with the dream analogy, or the dream example, you shouldn't stop by asking, oh, do you have anything that you want to achieve? And let's say they say something like, oh, and I want to be an astronaut. So many people just skip past it like, oh, okay, cool. And then they ask another question, completely unrelated. And that's what feels like an interview, you know? And that's what'll make the conversation die again. So instead, make sure that you're asking questions that dig deeper. You want to be an astronaut? Seriously, that's actually crazy. Like, so what, do you want to go for like the training program, or like, what are you gonna do? Like, just genuinely have this sense of curiosity, and the questions will naturally flow from there. Wait, is there something wrong with this thing? Okay, never mind. Jeez. And in my full guide that I've recently made, I've covered pretty much everything you need to know about like icebreakers, openers, all that stuff, comments. So it's in the description down below. Check it out. And another technique that I would do in the situation that I described earlier with my friend and the awkward tension is, I know this is going to sound very counterproductive, but I think I would kind of embrace it, because like, why do we even want there to be constant talking and constant conversation when we're around people? Like, it's weird, we associate silence with awkwardness when we're talking about people, but that doesn't have to be a bad thing. Like, those two things do not need to be correlated. Like, there's this quote by this guy named, I think, Peter Rollins, that says that something like, awkward silence is a chance to be real. Oh wait, let me check that real quick. Yeah, I was right. Awkward silence is the opportunity to be real. Because it's almost like you're able to shed the social niceties, social norms that are around conversations. Like, you need to ask this many questions about how are you? How is the family, or something like that. And then when the awkward silence hits, you're able to acknowledge that. Like, oof, this is pretty awkward, or damn, this is some long silence, you know? And then you're able to joke about it. And then from there, you can dig deeper. And maybe you ask a more personal question because you guys have had this bonding experience of awkward silence, you know? And I think, like, in a practical way, it could be helpful to think of it as a game. See how long you can last and how long the other person can last in this silence. Because remember, the silence does not have to be bad. So, let's recap. Awkward silences are like an introvert's worst enemy. And we usually encounter them at random points in the day, week, month, whatever. So a technique you can use to keep the conversation flowing is the FORD technique: family, occupation, recreation, and dream. And additionally, even if it doesn't work out, let's say the Ford method only takes you so far, don't feel the need to force a conversation. If there's nothing to talk about, then just don't speak. Don't needlessly use your voice in conversations just to hear it. And from there, you may end up being able to be real with the person and have a deeper connection by doing this, rather than just sticking to surface level questions to avoid the feeling of uncertainty that comes with not constantly yapping. So, I hope you found this helpful, and I just hope you subscribe, because we're moving up. 100 subs, we're going up. 1,000 next up. And remember, take action, learn from failure. See ya.